I live on the top floor. That's the part that doesn't make sense. The first night I heard the footsteps, I assumed I was mistaken. Old buildings make noise. Pipes knock. Wood expands and contracts. That's what I told myself. But pipes don't walk. At exactly 1:43 a.m., something stepped above my ceiling. 1 foot, then another. Slow. Deliberate. I sat up in bed staring at the ceiling fan as it spun lazily above me. My apartment was quiet. No neighbors above. No attic access. Just concrete and empty space. The footsteps stopped. Then they started again. This time directly over my bedroom. The next night, I stayed awake. I wanted to catch it. To prove to myself I wasn't losing my mind. At 1:43 a.m., right on time, the footsteps returned. They didn't wander. They paced, back and forth, like something learning the shape of my room. I grabbed my phone and started recording. My hands were shaking so badly I almost dropped it. The sound was clear, too clear. Each step had weight. Whatever it wasn't light. By the fourth night, the footsteps changed. They stopped pacing. They stood still, right above my bed. I lay frozen, staring at the ceiling, my heart pounding so loud I was sure it could hear me. Then something new happened. A sound like fingers dragging, slowly, across the ceiling, tracing, searching. I whispered, "Hello?" The dragging stopped. Then something tapped back. Once. I contacted building management the next morning. They were polite, calm, almost bored. "There's no unit above you," the manager said. "You're on the top floor." "I know," I replied. "There's no attic either," he added. "Just sealed concrete." That night, the footsteps returned earlier. 1:12 a.m. They were faster now, running, back and forth. Then, jumping. The ceiling light shook. Dust fell onto my bed. And for the first time, I heard breathing. I stopped sleeping in my bedroom. I slept on the couch with all the lights on. At 1:43 a.m., the footsteps followed me. They adjusted, moved, above the living room now, learning, matching me. When I checked the recording the next morning, there was something worse than the sound. Between the footsteps, a whisper, low, wet, trying to say my name. On the seventh night, I noticed cracks in the ceiling. Thin at first, hairline fractures spreading outward like veins. At 1:43 a.m., something pressed down from above. The ceiling bowed. I screamed and ran. I didn't stop until I reached the street. When I came back the next morning, the cracks were gone. But there was something new, a footprint, pressed inward, from the ceiling. I packed to leave. As I zipped my bag, I heard it one last time. Not above me, inside the apartment, behind me. A slow, heavy step, on the floor. I live on the top floor. And something finally came down. I didn't turn around. The footsteps were behind me, inside my apartment now, and every instinct in my body screamed not to look. The sound was wrong, too heavy, too slow, like something wearing the idea of footsteps instead of feet. I stood frozen in the doorway, my packed bag hanging uselessly from my hand. The air felt thick, like it was pressing against my skin. Then it took another step. Closer. I ran. I didn't stop until I reached the stairwell. I took the stairs two at a time, my heart pounding so hard I thought I'd pass out. I burst out onto the street and didn't look back. I spent the rest of the night in my car. Morning came quietly, too quietly. When I finally worked up the courage to return to the apartment, everything looked normal. No cracks, no damage, no signs of anything unusual, except the ceiling. It was spotless, too spotless, as if it had been smoothed. I told myself I imagined it. I had to. But that night I didn't sleep. I sat on the couch with all the lights on, watching the ceiling, waiting. At 1:43 a.m., I heard it again. Not above me, in the walls. A slow dragging sound, like something moving sideways through concrete, following the shape of my apartment, finding me. I grabbed my phone and started recording again. My hands shook so badly the screen blurred. The sound grew louder. Then I heard something new. A voice. Not whispering this time. Trying to speak. It didn't know how. The words came out broken. Wet. Beep. Low. My stomach dropped. I called building management again the next morning. This time, I didn't ask questions. I demanded answers. The manager went quiet when I told him what I heard. Too quiet. Finally, he said, "You need to leave." I asked him why. He sighed. "You're not the first tenant on that floor," he said. "Just the first one to stay this long." That night, the power went out at 1:42 a.m. The apartment went pitch black. 1 minute later, the footsteps returned. Not walking, descending. Each step sounded closer to the floor, closer to me. The ceiling light fixture began to creak, then bend, then crack. Dust rained down, and something pressed its weight from above. I screamed as the ceiling split open. A hand forced its way through. Not human. Too long. Too many joints. It pulled itself downward, tearing concrete like wet paper. And as its head emerged, I understood the truth. There was never anything above my ceiling. There was something inside the building, and it was finally done listening. I woke up in the hospital. They told me the ceiling collapsed. They told me I was lucky. But when I looked at the discharge papers, my blood ran cold. Cause of incident: structural failure from above. That night, as I drifted to sleep, I heard it again. Soft, patient, footsteps above my hospital ceiling. I woke up screaming. Nurses rushed in. Lights flooded the room. Someone held my shoulders down while another told me I was safe. They lied. Because even with all that noise, I could still hear it. Above the hospital ceiling. Slow, heavy, patient, footsteps. I begged to be moved. Different room, different floor, anywhere but here. They transferred me to the ground floor by morning. That night I slept with the lights on and my eyes open. At 1:43 a.m., Kodoanon, the sound returned. Not above me. Outside my room, walking the hallway, stopping at doors, listening, then stopping at mine. I heard the handle move, just slightly. Testing. A voice followed, low, strained, like it was forcing air through a throat it didn't understand. Beep, low? I pulled the blanket over my head like a child and cried until morning. I was discharged early. Stress-induced hallucinations, they said. I didn't argue. I went straight to a motel. One floor, no ceiling above, no neighbors, no buildings attached. That first night, I slept for hours. Then at 1:43 a.m., the sound came back, from beneath the bed. The mattress shifted as something pressed upward. The footsteps weren't footsteps anymore. They were movements. Learning movements. I grabbed my keys and ran barefoot into the parking lot. That's when I realized something. It wasn't following the building. It was following me. I started researching old city records, archived news, building permits, missing persons. The address of my old apartment appeared again and again. Different buildings, same spot, always demolished, always rebuilt, always complaints about noise, above ceilings, below floors, between walls, then the disappearances. I found one survivor, an old man in assisted living who lived in the building 40 years ago. When I asked him about the footsteps, he started shaking. It lives in the spaces we don't use, he said, between floors, between rooms, between moments. I asked him how to stop it. He looked at me with pity. You don't, he said. You just pass it on. That night I understood what he meant. The footsteps didn't chase me anymore. They stayed still, waiting. I felt it watching me, not from above, not from below, but from inside. My chest tightened, my breath hitched. Something shifted in my bones, and for the first time, I felt the urge to walk. I don't remember standing up. I don't remember walking outside, but I remember the feeling. Heavy, solid, right. I woke up lying on the floor of an empty apartment. Top floor, someone else was sleeping below me. I took a step. The ceiling answered. I hear footsteps above my ceiling. And now, I understand why. The first thing I noticed was the silence. No footsteps, no creaking, no breathing that wasn't mine. For hours, I stayed perfectly still on the floor, afraid that if I moved, I would wake it again. Morning light crept through the window. That's when I realized something was wrong. The light didn't move. I checked my phone. No signal, no time, no date, just a dead screen reflecting my face. Except, it wasn't exactly my face anymore. My eyes looked too deep, like they had learned how to watch. I stood up slowly and walked to the edge of the room. Every step felt heavy, final. When I stepped, the ceiling answered. Not with sound, with pressure. The room below reacted to me. Something inside my chest twisted with recognition. This wasn't possession, this was inheritance. I heard a knock, soft, careful, from below. A voice drifted upward through the floor. Hello? Is someone there? I froze. That voice belonged to a young man. Tired, nervous, new. Memories poured into me that weren't mine. People pacing, people listening, people losing sleep. I saw ceilings through hundreds of eyes. Every building had gaps. Every gap had room. And in those rooms, we waited. I tried to scream. What came out wasn't human. The sound bent, flattened. It traveled downward through pipes and beams. The voice below went silent. Then came the sound I had feared most. Footsteps. Below me. I stumbled back, clutching my chest. I didn't want this. I didn't choose this. But the truth settled deep in my bones. Neither had anyone else. I explored the apartment. No doors led outside. No windows open. Every wall felt unfinished, as if this place existed only to hold me. I found a mirror in the bathroom. I wish I hadn't. Something moved above my reflection. Not behind me, above me. Inside the ceiling of the mirror itself, it leaned down and smiled. That's when I understood the final rule. There is always someone above, even when you think you're at the top. The knock came again from below, more desperate now. Please, so the voice said. I hear